Now to today's media freedom campaign. We haven't seen media unanimity like this since they abolished 6 o'clock closing. Seriously, the combination of those controversial AFP raids earlier this year, repeated extensions to national security laws, controversial court suppressions, such as those across the George Pell trials, and to a degree the re-election of a coalition government, have all combined to create an alliance on media freedom from right across the commercial, public and ideological divide, the likes of which we haven't seen across the media before. No one who saw this morning's newspapers could miss the message, and journalists rallied like protesters at Parliament House, while leading executives from News Corp, Nine Media and the ABC advocated their causes of greater protections for journalists and whistleblowers and fewer restrictions on the reporting of legal and political issues. In Parliament, it became something of a partisan stoush.
Does the Prime Minister agree that journalism is not a crime?
People should not be prosecuted for their profession.
The staggering point overlooked by so many here is the turnaround, the changeability and the hypocrisy of many political players and some of the media operatives. Just over 6 years ago, a Labor government was trying to impose de facto regulation of the print media, and the ABC wasn't railing against it. At times, it was encouraging them along.
And just finally, very quickly, if a media organisation does not comply with a directive from the Press Council, this was always a concern. Is there in any circumstance an opportunity to prosecute and send that proprietor to jail?
Well, as I said, those were potential recommendations that came through from the Finkelstein report. We haven't accepted those recommendations. What we've done is we will appoint an independent statutory officer, the advocate, the public interest advocate.
There was no secret about who most Labor and Greens MPs were targeting.
The Murdoch press are an absolute disgrace. They are a threat to democracy in this country, and we should absolutely be having a look at them. They are absolutely outrageous.
Yet the Labor and Greens politicians who championed this de facto regulation and who dubbed News Corp the hate media are the leading warriors for press freedom today. This is welcome, I suppose, but it's passing strange. Likewise, ABC journalists, Labor and Greens politicians who defended the onerous provisions of Section 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act, cheering when it was used to sanction Andrew Bolt, hound Bill Leak and torment Queensland University students for years. They just cheered that along. Yet now the ABC journos, Labor and the Greens are taking the moral high ground in the fight for media freedom. Does anybody even remember this from Richard Di Natale just months ago in the lead up to the election?
We're going to make sure that we've got laws that regulate our media so that if people like Andrew Bolt and Alan Jones and Chris Kenny, and I could go on and on and on, if they want to use hate speech to divide the community, then they're going to be held to account for that hate speech.
Did the ABC rail against that threat to media freedom? No, it ignored it. Did Labor condemn it? No, they looked away too. Fair weather friends of the media are this lot. You might not want to depend on them in a tight spot, I'd reckon.